So we're talking about coaches on the hot seat. Personally don't think that Tyronn Lue is on the hot seat. You know, if he's on the hot seat, then Tibbs damn sure better be on the hot seat. Okay. If he's on the hot seat, I can name a number of coaches that should be on the hot seat. They overhauled his team, but I ask you, what coaches would you say at this point, if Watson can lose his job after 3 games, what coaches, in your opinion, Ra, are on the hot seat?
I believe right now there's 4 coaches that their seat got a little warm. I'm not saying they sitting on hot coal, but their seat has gotten a little warm. And that will be Alvin Gentry, Jeff Hornacek, Stan Van Gundy, and also Tyronn Lue. Now, you mentioned Tibbs. The only reason why I leave Tibbs out, I think that Tibbs would have a situation like Doc had. He would get stripped of president and then have a year to coach.
I think he's done a damn good job as president.
Right.
He ain't doing a damn thing as a coach.
But I think it would be in that order first. Same with Doc. He got stripped of the president, but he's still coaching. I think that would be the order. But those are the 4 coaches that comes to my mind that I think their seats got a little bit warm.
Stan Van Gundy just had a big win.
Well, here's the thing about Stan Van Gundy.
And he's the president.
Right. I believe that they were expecting some huge things from them. And it's been a letdown. I believe Josh Smith is still on the payroll. Reggie Jackson has not panned out to what they want. They get better play from Ish Smith coming off the bench. He makes trades. He wheels and deals every year. He's responsible for the Drummond signing. I believe that Stan Van Gundy needs to make the playoffs, and he needs to be in the playoff hunt for the majority of the season to hold on to his job.
Stan Van Gundy should relinquish the president of operations.
He should.
And just coach. Tibbs should fire himself as the coach and just be president of operations. He made some good doggone deals. His name is known for defense, and they're one of the worst defensive teams, if not the worst defensive team in the NBA. How can you tell me? And they were on a way of doing much better when Sam Mitchell was there. And now we have 2 seasons, not just one, before they put together this new team that he assembled, bringing in outside players that he has to really put together chemistry. Last year, he didn't do a good job.
No.
This year, he's not doing good. I mean, his claim to fame this year is beating OKC twice. That's it.
That's it. But you're right about that. But I believe it's going to get better. I believe that additions of Butler, he was out for a couple of games with an illness, and Taj Gibson, they're going to be an extension on the court to what he wants to do. I think they're going to be okay. I believe Jeff Hornacek is really, his seat is getting warm. He's had 2 huge wins. I think that what he's done in these last 2 games, that is the best thing he could have done outside of starting Jared Jack, is that he's committed to playing the youngsters. Willie Hernan-Gomez, Frank, the new guy. If he loses by playing them, he holds on to his job. But he loses and sits them, then he loses his job. So we're preaching the future is with these players, you have to play them.
You know, I looked at, and we're going to move on, but I looked at Alvin Gentry's face the other night, and I think they won that game. But he carried the stress of knowing that he's on the hot seat. I think we named a few people. I think the only 2 coaches, in my opinion, that are realistically on the hot seat are Jeff Hornacek and Alvin Gentry. Alvin Gentry has had a couple of big wins. He's got Anthony Davis back. Maybe not on the hot seat, but it's going to be a game-by-game decision. But let's move on. Rob, we have...
Man, say something else on that Alvin Gentry. The first year that the Warriors went to the championship, Alvin Gentry was on the sidelines for the Golden State Warriors. They played the 1-8 matchup against the New Orleans Pelicans. Anthony Davis had led them into the playoffs. In the first game, in the third quarter, the Pelicans was up by 24 points against the Warriors. And Curry went on this run that I had never seen before. It was just one of them Isaiah Thomas runs, when he was with Detroit against the Lakers on the broken ankle.
Right.
It was a run like that. Golden State came back and won. They swept them. They won the championship. We know the story. However, right after that, he got hired. And New Orleans Pelicans has not been anything close to that AFC playoff team. Now they have DeMarcus Cousins. He is a coach that is worried. He is coaching for his job. He has to get them to the playoffs and solidify a playoff spot, not squeak in. He's going to have to be in that top 8 throughout the season to hold on to his job because they're expecting big things over there with him.
Before we move on, quick answer. Do you think he can make it to the playoffs? Do you think he can get this team, as they're assembled right now, once they get Rondo back, can they make it to the playoffs?
I question their wings, but I'm going to tell you something. This Twin Tower, this is not Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson.
No.
This is a different kind of Twin Tower. These guys are like small forwards with the ball.
Yeah.
They can handle. They shoot threes. They do.
But is that your reason for saying that they couldn't, or that's your reason for saying that they could?
I was on the record speaking about trading DeMarcus Cousins. I wouldn't do that now. No. I think these two could possibly lead this team to a playoff.
And they get along.
And well, here's the thing: they're Kentucky.
They're Kentucky. They get along. Rondo,
Kentucky.
I've heard people talk about Bledsoe going over there. I don't believe it. But what better segue? We have a new segment here on Deep Hoops, and it's going to happen once a month. And this is what we want you to do. We're going to put Ra in the role of a GM, but we want you to put yourselves in the role of a GM. So whether you agree with Ra, we want to hear from you. You disagree with Ra, we want to hear from you. If you have a trade, now don't come up with some trade and the numbers don't match. You better run it through the trade machine to make sure the numbers match. Don't come talking about trading Kevin Durant and Curry for LeBron, and that ain't gonna work, okay? All right, stop it.
It's just not gonna happen.
But let's make real trades like Ra, the GM. Ra, take it away.
Well, currently right now, I'm going to speak about Eric Bledsoe. He's the hottest name right now in the trade market. And in fact, for those who don't know it, Phoenix have sent him home. They're not looking to see him in another Phoenix Suns uniform at any point. They're looking to move him. There's been 2 destinations that have come up. One, New York, and one, Milwaukee. They asked New York for Frank and Willie Hernan-Gomez. As of today, the New York president, Steve Mills, said he's not parting with neither one of them. They're untouchables. I disagree with him. I think Eric Bledsoe is a huge upgrade at point guard than what the Knicks have. I like what Jarrett Jack has done these last 2 games, but if you have an opportunity to get Eric Bledsoe, you get him. But I do not agree with trading both Hernan-Gomez and Frank. I think Eric Bledsoe has 2 years left on his contract. Frank is 19 years old. If we were somehow able to acquire him in New York, Eric Bledsoe, and have Frank under him for 2 years, when Frank is 21, he'll be ready to take over the team. So what I propose as the GM of the New York Knicks, Courtney Lee.
Stop for 1 second. This is the first time we're doing this segment, right?
Yes.
And you had to go with your Knicks for the first one. Huh?
Of course.
Okay, all right, keep going.
Of course.
Keep going.
So I propose to trade Courtney Lee, Willie Hernan-Gomez, 2 second-round picks to the Phoenix Suns for Eric Bledsoe. Now, the other move was Milwaukee. Now, if I'm Phoenix as a GM, I want to deal with Milwaukee because I might be able to package Tyson Chandler along with him and send him to his buddy who he won a championship with, and Jason Kidd, and also help lead the Knicks to a 50-win season, their last 50-win season when they played together with the Knicks. Trade Bledsoe and Tyson Chandler for an expiring contract in Greg Monroe, and bring back the Rookie of the Year, Malcolm Brogdon. However, if I'm Milwaukee, I don't make that trade.
No.
I don't make that trade. This is Rod, the GM, vetoing a trade. if I'm Milwaukee, I stick with Malcolm Brogdon. I think
Yes.
Malcolm Brogdon is going to be a top 10 point guard in this league at the blink of an eye. The guy has tremendous upside. He's a seasoned youngster, 4 years in Virginia. He's under the right person in Jason Kidd. He can run the team. He won't get in the way of Giannis, take shine away from Giannis. Eric Bledsoe is still a shoot-first point guard, which could disrupt Giannis. And we both look at Giannis as a top 6 player in this league. So the thing is this, if I'm Milwaukee, no. If I'm Phoenix, I'll pursue that avenue. Absolutely. You get Tyson Chandler off the books, an expiring contract in Greg Monroe. Might get some good minutes out of Greg Monroe as he tries to get another contract. And then you get a youngster in Malcolm Brogdon, and you can pair him in the backcourt with Devin Booker and Josh Jackson.
That would be a winner for them.
Yes, that would be a winner for them. If I'm Milwaukee, I don't do that.
And I've heard other people talk about Eric Bledsoe for Brogdon. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
No.
No way.
I mean, it's hard to find a pure point guard that can score.
That can score when he wants to score.
When he needs to score. Maurice Cheeks. He's like a Maurice Cheeks. A point guard, but when you have to score, can't score. Right. Steady, nothing flashy, gets the ball where it needs to be, the coach on the floor, an extension of Jason Kidd. Bledsoe is not going to be that for them. Now, he is an answer for the Knicks.
Yes, absolutely.
He's an answer for the Knicks, and I wasn't surprised that, of course, your first time doing Rob the GM, you would do it with the Knicks. But what is a person to expect? You really want to be the GM for the Knicks, don't you?
I would love that job. They could pay me half the salary.